Hey everybody, I'm going to do another review. This time we're going to look at Nightwatch from the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. I chose Nightwatch because he just seemed weird to me. It's kind of a strange thing. First of all, Nightwatch is like Spawn, but not Spawn, which is interesting because he's so much like Spawn during a time when Todd McFarlane worked for Marvel, or at least shortly after there, so I don't know how they got away with that, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Nightwatch comes in at 85 points, which is kind of high for the set. I think I looked at it, and out of roughly 66 pieces, there's only 24 pieces that are of a higher point value, and obviously that many more that are of a lower point value. So he's fairly high costed for the set. And he starts his top dial. He's got Stealth, Invincible, and he's got a white box damage thing, which I'll get into, called It Moves As If It's Part of Me, and that refers to his cape. Nightwatch can use Perplex, but only to target himself. So he's got printed 8 speed, printed 10 attack, 17 defense, 3 damage. He has that self-perplex, so any one of those could be adjusted. And then he also has a trait called the Cape Protects Me. So Nightwatch can use plasticity, so he's traded plasticity. So first of all, so now we've got essentially a stealth character with Invincible, no movement attack, but plasticity, and 85 points. And his attack value is 10, his defense is 17, like, I don't know, it's kind of strange the way that works. Like, stealth and invincible are kind of like a weird, I don't know, there's like, you can't shoot me, but even if you could, I'm invincible. So I don't know, it's a weird combination for the two. So the second part of the Cape Protects Me, though, this is where it gets really weird. It says after clearing action tokens, you get to choose an edge of the square you occupy. So in this case, you could choose this one, or right or left, or whatever one you want, at which point that edge of the square is essentially blocked. You can't target him through that square. Lines of fire are blocked through that. So now you have a stealth character who couldn't be really targeted if he was in hindering anyway, unless somebody saw around it. He has Invincible, so even if they could shoot him, that would defer the damage. And then he has this weird blocking power. And the strange thing about the blocking power is that it says after clearing action tokens. Not after he clears action tokens, it's after clearing action tokens. So essentially, like, you could do it every turn if you had somebody else on your team that was clearing when he was clearing or not clearing, etc. So that's what he looks like up front, and you're like, okay, well, how am I going to play this? Well, you could kind of park him and shoot because he has minimum range. It's 4, which is alright, but I don't know if I want to do that with an 85 point piece if the rest of them are much lower. So let's get on to the rest of the dial and we'll talk. So the top click is as I described. The rest of the dial is completely different. He moves to charge, quake, invulnerability. He still has his perplex power. So then now he's a close combat expert, or a close combat piece. So he's kind of like hiding and waiting. Waiting for what? I don't know. Nobody's going to come to you. You have Invincible. They're obviously just going to focus somewhere else, especially with that blocking line thing. So with that, you almost kind of have to be very selective about how you position him, so that you can take advantage of maybe targeting somebody else. Otherwise, you have no choice but to use him like an activation click, and then he can charge in and do something, because otherwise no movement attack. 85 points for a guy with no movement attack is not great. I don't think so anyway. So you move into his second and third click, and he gets charged, and he has quake, and he's a little bit more effective. Then he's like kind of a playable piece at that point. Then you could field him, you could use him a little bit more effectively. He still has that trait that blocks lines of fire. So he still has a bit of protection, still has invulnerability, so he's got a damage reducer. So his second click, he's much better. And then once you get into his fourth to sixth clicks, he gets sidestep, he has blades, he has close combat combat reflexes, he has shape change. He still has that blocking line of fire. So it's really weird. It's like he doesn't move, and then all of a sudden he moves really fast and slows down. And it's, I don't know, I envision like the first line as being almost essentially an activation click. As if he's like, you'd kind of keep him in reserve until everybody else was dead, and then he would wake up and do something. So my take on this piece is that it looks cool. you know, his trait is kind of neat because you can set up lines of blocking or block lines of fire. But essentially I look at it like it's a 5-point piece, because you're going to have to push him off his first one before you can use him, unless you intend to just keep him in reserve till the end of the battle, at which point he's 85 points and so many other characters is so much less that it just doesn't make sense. So that's my take on him. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I might change my mind if I play him. But I'm not in any rush to do so. So that's it. That's Nightwatch. He was in Maximum Carnage, by the way, if you aren't familiar with the character. And he actually does have the Maximum Carnage keyword, which if you choose to pay for the ATA, well then he gets much better because of the Maximum Carnage ATA. But again, I feel like he's got an activation click, and that's kind of a strange feeling for me. I never liked that. So, you know, weigh in, tell me what you think, and post in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And we'll come back another time. We'll talk about another piece. Thanks very much. Bye for now.